Welcome to this, the fourth class in my series of 10 classes for people who are brand new to yoga. Today, in class 4, we're going to do a bit of a recap on one class of poses, the standing poses. So for this, I'd like you to have a couple of wooden blocks. We'll take a block like this and then a second one. And this is primarily what we need for our standing poses. So I'd like you to stand, first of all, facing the long edge of the mat. Put the blocks on either side. We won't need them right away. So let's come back to Tadasana. Remember Tadasana, the feet are parallel to each other and the kneecaps and the toes facing straight forwards. Inhale the arms above the head. This is raised arm pose, Urdhva Hastasana. And then we're going to bend the knees into chair pose. So we're building strength in our legs. Inhale, come on up. And then exhale, we're going to come down quite a bit further. And hold. Arms up. So the back comes as concave as you can make it. And then inhale, come on up and bring the hands down. Okay. So remember tree pose, the balancing pose. So let's begin standing close enough to a wall that we could use a wall if we needed to. Fingertip on the wall. Turn the left foot out and bring the left foot up onto the right leg. Now remember, I could keep my toes on the floor, press against the lower leg, or bring it higher on the leg. And if you can take your hand off the wall, that's great. And then just bring your hands into a prayer. Here we have to use time. We have to hold it for a while so the body learns what's necessary to balance on one leg. Keep your eyes on a fixed object ahead of you. Notice your breath and pay attention to what you feel in the standing foot, the four corners of the standing foot. And then let's bring that left foot down and we'll work on the other side. So turn the opposite leg out. If you need the wall, move to the wall. Bring the foot up onto the opposite leg. And then bring the leg down. And the reason I didn't talk then is because it's good for you to learn to focus, to stay present, and just listen to your own body as well as to my voice. Okay, so now we're going to start some of the bigger standing poses. So remember last time we did triangle and half moon, and we're going to start there today. So stand with your feet together in Tadasana. Stand tall so you feel your kneecaps drawn up. You connect with the four corners of each foot and broaden the chest, narrow the back, tuck the chin and lengthen through the crown of the head. So you feel an energy in the pose. You're not slumping. You're really lengthening. Okay, now stand the feet apart. Take your arms up and we're going to turn the left leg out to 90 degrees. And the back leg turns in slightly. Hips face, shoulders rather face the long edge of the mat still. Don't turn your upper body. Extend out, come into triangle and take the top hand up and open your chest. So this is triangle, and we want to learn to pivot. Two things we want to do. Pivot from the hips so the back stays in one straight line. Keep the kneecaps drawn up so the legs remain active. And then to go into half moon, do it against the wall if you need to, like we did before. Otherwise, take the hand onto the hip, take the block with you, and step up into half moon. So here both legs are very straight, the chest is open, and the balance is firm and steady. To come out of the pose, you keep the back leg raised as long as you can, bend the standing leg, and inhale, come up. You notice I come back up in a beautiful choreographed way rather than just falling out of the pose. Feet become parallel to each other, other leg turns out, back foot turns in, and take the arms up. So The focus on standing poses today is really because they form an important part of almost every yoga class these days. Extend out, bring the hand down, don't round the back, just keep the back in a straight line and open the chest. I like you to hold the bottom leg rather than let your hand dangle. It just gives you more opportunity to support the spine. And then the top hand comes down on the hip. I look down, bend the front leg, step forwards and come up into half moon. I move the block with me so it stays underneath my shoulder. My standing leg remains straight, as does my raised leg, perfectly straight. So I should be nearly a right angle at my groin. And then to come out, I'm very controlled, coming down into triangle, inhale, coming up, bringing the feet back to parallel, taking a break, hands on the hips, and bring the hands down onto the floor in front of me. So we'll be doing 2 more standing poses facing the long edge of the mat. Put your hands in your hip crease, come on up. Once again, we're going to turn the left leg out, the back foot in. And this time, we're going to go back to Warrior 2 that we did in the first class. So bend the knee, arms up, keep the spine vertical, the back leg again very strong, and the front knee facing the center of the toes. Look out over your front hand, Warrior 2. Then I'm going to lean out, place the forearm on the thigh, swing the other arm under, and I form a nice straight line and let myself deeply sink into the pose. Back leg is still very strong, and I'm reaching through my fingertips and out through my outer right side of my foot, the right foot. Inhale back to Warrior 2, straighten the front leg, pivot the feet, and do the other side. So the right leg turns out, the back foot turns in, the front leg bends to a right angle, the torso remains vertical, and then I come forwards into resting my right forearm on my right thigh, swinging the bottom arm out. And you notice I form a nice straight line from the outer left foot out through the fingertips. So there's no bending at the elbow, the knuckles, the wrist. The thumbs relax, but the fingers are very straight. Inhale back to Warrior 2. Straighten the front legs. Front leg, pivot the feet to the front, and exhale forwards into one more resting pose before we begin on the next set that face the short edge of the mat. Let's bend the knees a little, hands in the hip crease, pivot from the hips and come up with a flat back. Step the feet together. So we're making a lot of big strides, literally and metaphorically today. Okay, so we're going to face the short edge of the mat now. So I'm going to take my 2 blocks, put them down here, and then stand into Tadasana. I like to put the hands on the hips for this set of poses because it brings your attention to the fact the hips must stay facing the short edge of the mat. I'm going to step the right leg back a long way. I bring my hips to a square to the front to face the short edge of the mat. Arms over my head, reach up, Urdhva Hastasana, and then exhale forwards. Put my hands on the blocks, and I'm in Parshabottanasana, the pyramid pose. Keeping the legs straight, inhale, bring the arms up, hands down. Take the right leg back a little bit further. Bend the left knee to a right angle. Keep the spine erect and take the arms over the head for Warrior 1. Now, we're going to pick up the back heel, lay along the thigh, and this time we're going to try and do Warrior 3 without resting on the blocks. So see how your balance is today. Use the blocks if necessary. And then come on down. Warrior 1, straighten the front leg, bring the hands down, step up. So we go through pyramid pose, Warrior 1 and Warrior 3. Let's do the other side. Let's take the left foot back a long way. So you see how my hips have turned slightly, so I use the left hand to bring that left hip forwards, so the hips narrow, the inner thighs touch, and then inhale the arms over the head, come forwards, place the hands on the blocks and look ahead. lengthening the back of the neck. Pyramid pose. So the key here is to bring the right hip back, the left hip forwards, the legs are straight, and then inhale, come on up and bring the hands down. And step the left foot back a little bit further. Bend the right knee to a right angle. Find your balance. Inhale the arms over the head. Warrior one. You can interlace the hands if it feels good. And then separate the hands, pick up the back heel, lay along your front thigh, come up into warrior three on the other side. Put your hands on the blocks if necessary. And then bend the front leg, come back into warrior one, straighten the front leg, bring the hands down onto the hips. Let's pivot to the front edge of the long edge of the mat and interlace the fingers behind the back, open the chest and come forwards. So you'll learn that lowering the head below the heart is considered in yoga a resting pose. Inhale and come on up. So that is the focus of today's class, which is standing poses. We're going to round it off with a restorative pose. Never underestimate the value and importance of restorative poses. So a restorative pose today is going to be a reclining bound angle pose. So I'm going to put a block on the floor, put my bolster along the mat like this. If you've got a very big bolster, you might want to put some support under your buttocks as well. And I'm going to lay down with my legs crossed like this. Some of you with very flexible hips can bring the soles of your feet together. I find that less comfortable, so I like to cross my legs. I sit close to the bolster and lay back. So this has some major health benefits. So one, it gives us an opening in the chest. So when you lay on a bolster, there's a lot of expansion across the chest like this. There's some back bending through the length of the body. And so it allows the heart and the lungs to work more effectively. I'm keeping the back of the neck long and the chin tucked. And after a while, I'm going to cross my legs the other way, like this. So my legs are in a comfortable cross-legged position. You could have the soles of your feet together like this. It's not so comfortable for me. And so not only does this give you some chest opening and some better posture in the upper body, but also with the legs dropping out to the sides, it also gives you more freedom of movement in the hips. We don't often take our legs out to the side like this. We spend a lot of time sitting in chairs, standing, sitting, walking, and that's always two movements in the legs, one of flexion and one of extension, so that we don't get into what is external rotation here, which is good. Opening the groins here allows a better blood flow from the upper body through the legs, and you can be thankful for that. So from here, we're going to move straight into Shavasana. I'm going to teach you a different kind of Shavasana today, and all we're going to do is simply straighten the legs. So here we are. My legs are straight now. I'm resting on the bolster. This is called Shavasana 2. The feet drop out to the sides, the palms face up, the biceps face up, and I let the hands curl, and I just let everything go. You know, we live in a very driven society where we are rewarded for what we achieve, not for what we can let go of. And yoga gives us permission to let go. Just to be here now, focusing on your breath, and just allowing relaxation to click in, something we give very little space to in our modern lives. This is why one of the major reasons why people either consciously or unconsciously are drawn to yoga, because it offers us an escape from the rat race of modern life. So let's bend our knees, roll off to the side, come up to sitting, cross-legged. I hope you've enjoyed this 4th class in my series of 10. We've got another 6 to go. Each one will bring something new and revise something that we've done before.